welcome back to Those Two Geeks. My name's Alex. I am all alone today. Joe couldn't make it in, and so I thought, why not just sit down, record by myself, and talk about the toy arc news that has come out over the last 8 hours or so. First, what really caught my eye first and foremost, and left my jaw slightly on the floor, is that Magic the Gathering are having a Spider-Man set coming out. Even though I am a Spider-Man fan, and I've always been curious about Magic, it's not going to do enough to get me to start buying the cards, primarily because I know if I ever did start getting into Magic, I would spend far too much money on the cards without even knowing how to play. If I ever learned how to play Magic the Gathering, I'd probably still be in the same boat. I would probably end up spending a ton of money, so I probably should never learn how to play. It does look like a fun game. It looks like there's a lot of folks who enjoy. Well, I know there's a lot of folks that enjoy it just from working at the comic shop. There's always the Friday Night Magic, a ton of folks coming in having fun. And frankly, I don't like I said, I don't envy them at all for that. That's not the right words to use. I don't in any way, shape, or form. Whenever I'm recording alone, I always find I lose my train of thought when I say the wrong words. That said, if you're coming in or going into any game store, card store, comic store to play Magic the Gathering, I think that's fantastic. I think that's what the game is designed for, is bringing people together and obviously making money for Wizards of the Coast. It's not something that I would want to do myself, again, purely because of the money that you would need to invest. The closest that I've ever been to delving into it was with the Lord of the Rings set. I am a big Lord of the Rings fan. It should come as no surprise to anyone that I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. I think we've spoken about it quite a bit on the show already. I've got a Lord of the Rings half sleeve tattoo, so I'm obviously into the Tolkien's world, and yet somehow I resisted the urge to play Magic the Gathering when the Lord of the Rings set came out. Spider-Man is less likely to pull me in. However, the artwork, man, the artwork works so good. So I'm going to be jealous of the people that get it. I can't wait to see what happens or what the artwork of the cards looks like when we end up with a bunch of sets at the store and we open them to sell the cards individually. Looking forward to that. Maybe there might be one or two that I'm interested in. Maybe I'll pick it up and figure out what to do that is very specifically got nothing to do with me playing the game and buying cards. It's the same issue I had with Disney Lorcana. Again, big Disney fan. Was very tempted to get the cards just to collect them as trading cards, but I realized that if I did that, I would then be trying to get every single card I could, which could frequently or very likely run the cost to my wallet up significantly. So never got into that game either, although my friend is into it and loves talking about it, and I love listening to it. I've always enjoyed listening to people talk about their hobbies when they're passionate about it, but it's just not something that I could add to my slate of hobbies, list of hobbies. I don't know what I'm going to call it. That said, back to the toy arc reveals, and I've somehow managed to go on a tangent by myself. McFarlane released four or five, depending on how you want to count it, looks at the Mortal Kombat figures. You have Scorpion and Sub-Zero, which, based on the renders, look like the exact same figure with a slightly different. No, you know what? They look like the exact same figure with a paint, just a different paint coating. And again, it makes total sense for that toy, or those characters. Sorry. Then you've also got a Sub-Zero with ice arms in a 2-pack with. This is that moment where I don't actually know the name, and Toy Arc has frozen on me, so I can't really go scroll on that site. So it's a lady in pink. I don't honestly know who that is. Uh, then there's also Liu Kang and a lady in blue, who I also don't know who that is. Katana, maybe? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. As you can imagine, these aren't likely to be toys that I'm going to jump on. However, I think it's fantastic that they have them, and honestly, they look pretty good. It's going to be interesting to see how McFarlane deals with losing the DC license, and now that it's gone back to Mattel. I'm curious to see if we're going to get Mattel releasing DC figures that scale with Marvel Legends, like, and actually scale with them so you can put them on the shelf next to each other. There's a lot of folks who want to finally have a set of, a Batman with a Wolverine in scale, and vice versa. So I'm curious to see how that goes. If that's what we're going to get. Again, I've tangented by myself. I'm impressed. On top of the Mortal Kombat figures coming out that I have clearly no idea about, Hasbro have announced that they're relaunching the Mask toy line. If you are not old like I am, then Mask may not be familiar to you. I actually have one of the original Mask figures on my desk. They're 2.5, 3 inches tall. I assume they're going to be a bit bigger. But what was always fun is that they came with a vehicle that would transform into another vehicle. Not like Transformers, but it would be like a motorcycle into some form of helicopter. And I've always enjoyed Mask. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens when that line is released, what the pricing is. If the toys or the figures are the same size, then it's gonna be really interesting to see how much they can get in terms of the vehicles. Because let's face it, the vehicles are where the majority of people are going to be excited to see. You're going to want to see what the car. God, can I remember the names of the cars? The Condor, the Thunderhawk, again the helicopter. I'm 100% reading this off of an article. I don't know if you can tell how I've suddenly switched and apparently knowing what I'm talking about. It it is apparently the 40th anniversary of the toy line, which makes sense given that it came out in the mid 80s. And I'm enjoying the fact that the name of the bad guys was Venom, which stands for Vicious Evil Network of Mayhem. Subtle, right? Now, Toy Fair is still ongoing, so there's not a huge amount of toys and figures just yet that has actually been written down that I can easily pull up. I'm really curious what's going to happen with NAKE's bloody... Oh, for God's sake. I'm curious what's going to happen when folks get a good look at the Naked Terrifier toys. I'm not the biggest fan of clowns. However, I think that some of these look really fantastic. The the Santa Claus clown thing, I assume that's art, looks terrifying, which you would expect. The general clowns look fantastic. The general clowns look fantastic. I think there's 6, 7 inch figures and then little mini statuettes maybe that come with them as part of the pack. I'm not sure. I'm just looking at it like based on the scale, the size. Let's see what we get. So I'm curious. I think these are going to be very popular with a lot of people. It is definitely not something that I will be looking into for my collection, but I do enjoy that you have the clean figures and then the blood spattered figures as variants. I think that's going to be very exciting for a lot of people. In terms of the Marvel Legends reveals for Toy Fair, and this is something that I'm sure all of you are surprised it's taken me this long to get to, is that they have announced an X-Force Archangel figure, which looks glorious. I will obviously be getting this. The body is one of the more, I think, the Vulcan body maybe, and the wings are an entirely new sculpt. It looks fantastic. There is what looks to be a little bit of blue lightning on the bottom that you can attach to it, which I think is to simulate. No, sorry, not lightning. It's his Fletch dagger things firing out from the tips of his wings. So that I think is going to be a must buy for me. And I think honestly, between that and the X-Force 2-pack, it's gonna be one of the final Marvel Legends that I actually need, which I'm surprised about. There's also a bunch of new G.I. Joes coming out. Again, like, I'm not super into G.I. Joe. There's some I think the G.I. Joe retro line. I don't know if it's the 6-inch or the smaller ones. There is a G.I. Joe Firefighter coming out, which looks kind of cool. And in terms of Masters of the Universe Origins, you have Orko, and what I find interesting, you have Bo coming out, which is super cool. You also then have a couple of new Masterverses, a new He-Man and Terraclaw Skeletor, which looks fantastic. Not super keen on the head, but minor things, right? Then you have Masters of the Universe Thundercats, which looks pretty cool as well. Not something I'm going to feel the need to rush out and get, but some of these look really interesting. Between Lino and He-Man, I think you've got a good start there, and then you've got Panther and Chitara. I'm curious to see what the rest of that line will look like. When I look at the Toy Fair reveals, there is a lot of very cool figures coming out. There's also, I realize, a lot that I'm going to be able to appreciate the photographs of, and I'm happy that they're coming for folks, but they're not ones I'm going to need to add to my collection, especially considering I don't want to add too much to said collection anymore. I'm trying to limit what I do and don't pick up. But there's a lot of very interesting Ninja Turtle stuff, Power Rangers things that thankfully I have never been tempted by yet. There's a lot of Ninja Turtle stuff that is out and about. And then I think the only reason I haven't gone full bore into Transformers is that I don't really have a separate area to store it. So if I'm going to get a Transformer, I would always want it to be in scale with some like the Marvel Legends style things, which would be insanely expensive in terms of getting an actual line out of that size. Doesn't surprise me that there hasn't been one yet, or if there ever will be. And hey, if I'm wrong, which could happen. I'm not an encyclopedic knowledge. Folks, I've rambled on for far too long today. I've somehow gone 10 minutes plus without really knowing what I'm going to be talking about. I appreciate you listening thus far. I think the next time Joe and I are going to get together, we'll be talking about Captain America Brave New World. We've both seen it. We both have thoughts on it. I'm curious to see how well we align or don't align to it. A very quick spoiler-free review, despite it having been out for a couple of weeks. I didn't hate the movie. It was okay. It was pretty good. That said, I am going to bid you adieu, and I will, or rather you will hear us again.
Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.